Hi everyone, let's talk about Planet Unknown, which I just did a full playthrough for. If you want to see it all laid out on the table and stuff, then it's linked in the description. You can go check it out if you haven't already. And as I mentioned in that, I was paid to make the playthrough video, so yeah. If you need to know that, you do now know it. So, what do I think based on the prototype of Planet Unknown? Well, I love tiling games and polyomino games in particular. There's so many now. Standout ones like recently Isle of Cats was such a fantastic one. Feast for Odin's kind of a mammoth, more involved one. Baron Park's fantastic. There was Bricks, which was a kind of roll and writey one. So many great polyomino laying games. And so the kind of the first hook, the gimmick that will kind of stand out the most, and it did to me, I'll admit. I'm a sucker for these novelty things in games. Is the Lazy Susan, the serving, the serving trays that you can twist. Well, look at the playthrough. If you don't know what one is, you can see it in action there. At the start of your turn in a game with more than two players, the first player gets to move this Lazy Susan around, and whichever pieces are facing them are the two pieces they're going to get to choose from this turn to place on their planet. And that also determines what pieces are pointing at everybody else that turn. So it's a bit of a push and pull. It's what you want and what you don't want particular people to have, maybe. So that is a great thing on there, although two-player works really well as well. Instead of having that, it just rotates one space every turn, and so you can kind of see what's coming and plan accordingly to that. The tiles that you place are going to move you up certain tracks, and they all work quite differently, whether they're unlocking ability cards, whether they are giving you the little one-by-one bio tiles to fill in spaces because you want to fill in the rows and columns, whether they are unlocking special abilities that can be the same for everyone, but there's also an asymmetrical different ability type for everyone as well as the final version is going to have different planet boards that everyone can use if you want to have a completely different starting ability. And so, yeah, I think just even if we just had those starting ability sheets, there are so many different ways that it can go just based on that initial setup. Whether you were just going for water and you want a load of points, whether you're going for the rover and you want loads of movement points for this rover that you plonk it down and it's going to roam across the planet. You start out with a load of life pods, and if you can gather those, they're worth points, because if you can place tiles on them, they're not particularly in the way, but they're destroyed, and that's points that you've lost. But also, as you place particular tiles, certain ones will have meteors on them, and you will end up with meteors in these spaces that block your scoring for certain rows and columns, which is bad, and you don't particularly want to take too many of those if you can't really deal with them, or you want to position them in maybe the same row and column, so they're not going to deny you points from multiple things. And maybe you just don't fill those ones you're not going to score. But you can get your rover across those asteroids and gather them up, and instead of and so they won't block your points anymore, but then every 3 that you gain is another point for you winning the game as well. And then all of those ability cards that you can collect are different every game, and you want to race towards those because you're going to get the first pick of some special abilities or the most points out of them. There's just so many different ways that it can go, and it's still got that core, trying to puzzle out, trying to fill all of the gaps that most of the polyomino games have, but it's got this added dimension through the choice of the tiles that are coming with the kind of the Lazy Susan, especially in the two-player game, where I do like that planning aspect. It is a shame that it's missing. I think it's just two distinct experiences that I think have both got their benefits. That in that two-player game you can plan more ahead and see what is coming out. You can see the top tiles that are about to come to you. But in the same way, you can get exactly what you need if you're the first player, and have to be worrying about what you're giving other players in a game with more players as well. So yeah, there's just so much variability in this, and there's so much to think about. Just in you've only got a choice of these two tiles, and unless you've unlocked particular abilities, you have to build adjacent to where you've already gone. So even in that restricted framework at the beginning, there's still a lot open to you, because you want to probably try and focus on a couple of particular tracks to try and get as far up them as possible and get the benefits. Just with these basic ability things, it's great being able to, once you've raced up your ability unlocks, and you can not only start placing tiles anywhere, but you can start saving up biomass tiles. So normally when you get those little 1x1 squares, they have to go out straight away. So you have to make your decision maybe when you don't really need those tiles yet. So you'd want to hold off on earning them perhaps. But if you get that ability, then you can store them all up, and so can be a little bit more cavalier about placing things down, because once you finish the game, you can see where the most beneficial spot to put them would be. It's just all of these great kind of extra things built on a really solid polyomino lane game to begin with. It's just got so much variability, so much kind of thought has been put into. It could easily just be an unnecessary gimmick, the lazy Susan in it, but it is a central core part of the choosing of the tiles, as well as being a convenient way of spinning it around for everyone. Yeah, I just absolutely love it, and there's the only thing that I can really think of is that thing of if you're really drawn by that choice of the tiles, that isn't there for the 2-player game, but. If that is the deal breaker for you, you could always house rule that. But yeah, more than what I think of the game, the playthrough is there to help you make up your mind. And I don't say what I think at all in that one. So yeah, you can hopefully see how it's played, get into the mind of a glass cat, and see if it would be the game for you. But that's all from me. I'm going to go and do another video now. I hope you'll join me there. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and I'll see you for the next game. Bye.